Feels like Diana's kidnapping was like an earthquake offshore and they couldn't really feel it. Maybe they got like a little bit of the tremors, but then the tsunami came.
Yeah. Welcome to Inchworm,
the podcast in which we're inching through worm. I'm Jenny.
And I'm Ted.
I feel like it's a shame we're not on video because I just want a compilation at the end of this podcast of every time I've looked incredibly startled when you said welcome to Inchworm.
It's a delight.
I'm glad you think so.
We have reached the end of Arc 7 of
It's
Worm.
true. Buzz 7.12.
The buzzing is over.
It was not what I expected, but I'm excited to see where it goes from here.
I'm so curious to ask how it was different than your expectations, but maybe I should say what happens first.
Just tell us what
happened.
happened.
So we can just start talking about it. We were in the middle of Taylor pointing out to all of the other Undersiders that they were instrumental in Coil being able to kidnap Dinah, the 12-year-old girl who can tell you what the odds are. And we immediately pick up with Gru saying, look, we're not to blame. And we get a little bit of exposition from Tattletale explaining, I sort of put the pieces together that, Dinah had been kidnapped, but not in my wildest dreams did I imagine it would be like this. Mm-hmm. She seems really shaken by what she's seen. We can talk about sort of what Tattletale was thinking later, but she's one of the candidates for mayor's niece. Mm-hmm. So Tattletale thought it was more about political leverage. She claims to have had no inkling that Dinah had a power at all. And Bitch suggests, well, if it bothers you, just, tell him to go fuck himself. And Taylor says, no, we can't walk away and leave her like that. And Brian pushes back again. And Taylor immediately throws in his face, like, I know your sister is important, but would you really pick her over Dinah? And Brian says, yes, Taylor, using Taylor's real name, I would. And he explains, he says he's being practical, and he explains what he's thinking and where he's coming from. That at the end of the day, he's always going to pick Aisha and his team over, someone like Dinah. And Taylor can't believe what she's hearing. She turns to Bitch, doesn't get much, turns to Regent, tries to make some points about like, hey, didn't you leave your dad because of stuff like this? And Alec kind of shrugs it off. He says he has a high tolerance for this kind of shit, and for now the gig with Coil is good. Taylor finally turns to Tattletale, and Tattletale says, this was a very calculated play on Coil's part, I think. We need to discuss this as a team. That's what Gru said. I agree. And Taylor says, I can't even believe you are considering this, right? Like, it's not negotiable. And she feels very angry. She waits for a moment for somebody to, say something else. And then she turns to leave. Gru tries to stop her, and she loses her temper. She releases her bugs to kind of cut Gru off from her, and she starts thinking, okay, if it comes down to a fight, how am I going to fight the Undersiders? And Gru says, no, let her go, and Taylor flees. We jump back to the loft. Taylor has arrived back at the loft, sees Angelica recovering on the couch. It turns out she's really suffering some lasting consequences from being in Fogg's area of effect. And Taylor just starts thinking through how she's feeling. She reflects back to how bad things were before she got her powers, how she's had a sense of purpose since then, and now how she feels back to square one. And she grabs a partially packed bag, puts some things in it, and before she can leave, Lisa arrives. They talk through the situation. Lisa's like, do you really have to leave? And Taylor says yes. And they talk through kind of like, well, what happens now? What are you going to do? Are you leaving permanently? Don't know. Are you going to try and rescue Dinah yourself? Don't know. Do you realize we might have to fight you if Coil orders it? Or we come into conflict in the future? Don't know. Do what you have to. And Tattletale kind of ends the conversation by saying, look, I'm not saying goodbye, and let's leave the door open to talking again in the future. You know, if I have to resolve this all myself, I will. And Taylor, finishes packing. They don't say anything else to each other. She gets ready to leave the loft, and then Taylor hears an air raid siren. The TV is on, starts saying, leave your homes, find the nearest shelter, follow the directions of local authorities. And Taylor sees this expression on Lisa's face that she's never seen before. No humor or confidence at all in it. And Taylor's like, okay, so it's a bomb? Something from Bakuda? No. What is it? And Lisa says, Endbringer. Taylor thinks of her dad. Tattletale's like, no, he's going to evacuate like everyone else. Look, the rest of the Undersiders, we talked about this possibility. You know what happens. And we decided that we would go and try to help. But obviously you didn't make that commitment. And also you're not really on the team right now. So, and Taylor just jumps in, I will go. She thinks, I didn't even need to think about it. I would never be able to forgive myself if I walked away, knowing there was something I could have done to help. And that's where we end things.
This is such an interesting chapter from the point of view of the other Undersiders' moral compasses.
Absolutely.
Like, that's really what's hanging in the balance here.
Absolutely.
I mean, also Taylor's relationship with them, clearly, but that's one is dependent on the other, right? Like, I was wrong in my prediction. I thought she'd be able to bring them around.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that I was wrong that she could have, but she, I think, was so horrified that the fact that they had mixed feelings about it was just too much for her.
Yeah.
It seems like the fact that they weren't just like, nope, this is a red line, we can't do this, we don't even need to discuss it, this is clearly awful and we need to fix it. The fact that they didn't jump there meant that she couldn't stay and talk about it, she couldn't have some conversation about the pros and cons, it was just too horrible to her. It was too horrible to know that they were implicated in it, that they'd had a hand in this, and it just really took a hammer to her relationships with them.
Yeah.
It's the bigger instance of Brian being like, no, we don't need to go stop Purity. The heroes will take care of it.
Right. It feels like, that moral outrage, that sense of revulsion that she is feeling, she describes at the end of last chapter, anger, feeling like she's going to be sick. And she thinks to herself, these are the people I've been associating with.
Yeah.
It's such a core blow to her identity. And it's so interesting, we do get Lisa when she shows up at the end, but during that first part of the chapter, she's only using cape names for everyone because they're all in costume. And it really, it works so well that we've had that set up, because at this moment she's looking at them and she's not seeing her friends, she's seeing supervillains.
Yeah.
Right. It's that emotional moral revulsion is what drives her in this chapter. And she doesn't even try to persuade them.
No. She's just like, oh, you're not immediately on my side.
Yeah.
I can't deal with that because this is so horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the end of, what was it, Arc 2? When she's talking to her dad and her dad is like, are they good people? And it's like, yes, I lied. And it seems like that view of them had shifted and softened, and now she's reminded, wait.
Yeah.
These are villains, but it's all, it's complicated. They're good to each other. They're good to her. They have done good things.
Yeah.
But, Bakuda also said, these are not good people. I think the question of are they good people is one that they are constantly trying to answer. And this chapter raises it in several different ways. I want to dig into each of their responses to this thing. Yeah. But their responses to Dinah contrasted with their responses to an Endbringer. They apparently all decided that, okay, we don't know what the Endbringers are. I mean, you do, but I don't. But there's something so horrible that Lisa makes, looks like that at the TV. She has faced, as Taylor says, she's faced these awful supervillains and has never looked like that. And when she was giving her cops and robbers speech, she was like, the people who are just completely off the grid, kind of just
And she's like, Taylor, you've brought up the Endbringers twice now.
Stop
being morbid.
Yeah, I should conjecture what they are later, but they are so horrible that she has that reaction. And yet they all decided as a team, all of them, even Alec and Rachel, that if an Endbringer came to their city, threatened their city, they would help fight it, whatever that means. And it's so funny. Lisa presents this to Taylor. She's like, yeah, we all decided this. Obviously, you didn't decide it. You are barely even on the team anymore. But of course, the reason that Taylor's barely on the team anymore is because they haven't met her moral standards. And now she's like, okay, well, we're going to go do this incredibly heroic thing. Obviously, you might not want to come. Like, of course Taylor's going to want to come. Like, this is the whole point, is that she is a hero. And she is not going to back down from this. And, whatever she's decided about her team loyalties, she is still a hero inside. Like, she refuses to let horrible things happen without trying to stop them, especially if she helped cause them. And she is going to go fight the incredible, scary, like, whatever it is. She says she doesn't even have to think about it. Like, if there's a way she can help, obviously she will.
Yeah. Well, it is also like when you're so adrift and lost and hurt.
Right, she just got a sudden purpose.
Exactly. And life hands you a purpose that is in harmony with your recently discovered sins, and your moral core as well. Then of course. And I mean, it's almost a sign of like Lisa not knowing Taylor, the way that she would actually that she frames it like that. But I feel like there's a little bit of it that's almost like everyone understands if you would say no, right? It's almost like
that's true.
Whatever it is so bad, right? Nobody would hold you to this standard.
Yeah.
But I mean, the other way you could think about it is like, is there a hint of her trying to like guilt her into it? No, it feels very informative, but she's not. She's not saying even Alec is going to do it and you're not going to do it, right? Like that's not the tone that I get.
No, it really did. It felt genuine. I do think none of them know Taylor. Yeah. I mean, how would they? She's never shared this part of herself with them. Yeah. Like, they don't know that she has this hero inside of her. Like, how would they know?
Well, yeah, we should talk about what it means that Lisa's the one that comes to her in the end. Mm-hmm. Kind of in both directions. But I do feel like we saw this arc, Bitch coming to know Taylor a little bit better, Brian coming to know Taylor, but in a way that sort of was creating more conflict. But like, I feel like we did start to see, this arc is the one where she's like, I'm all in. And I feel like we started to see...
She started to show herself to them. Or at least, build these connections.
But yeah, this is going to be a surprise, if not a shock to them, maybe, the way that she's reacting.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, we talked at the end of, I think it was arc 6, when she writes, like, I am a supervillain. I was just listening to that episode because I'm behind. You talked about the power of labels, and all of these people have accepted the label of supervillain in good faith. So, they've accepted it in actuality, whereas Taylor accepted it as sort of a cover story and now has chosen it for the people. But like, the actual supervillain identity has never been something she's actively chosen, identified with, despite having written that in the manila folder. So I think
it's not what she's aspiring to. It's just what she is.
Right. And I think that really sets her up for a very different reaction to Dinah than the rest of them, because they already have the sense of themselves as people who make some moral compromises, and she hasn't really come to peace with moral compromises yet. And I think just she still has enough of a hero mindset to be like, no, we're not standing for this. Like, obviously this is a complete deal breaker.
That's so fascinating.
And they just don't jump to it in that way, even if after a long conversation they would eventually decide that. They aren't starting in that headspace of like, no, here are my morals and I will sacrifice everything to them.
Yeah. And that's so funny, because has she not had to make moral compromises? I think that
she has. Yeah.
Right, but what she's done is she's had that sense of purpose that makes it worthwhile. So like, she justified a lot of moral compromise in the service of her insinuation plot and in the service of getting Lung off the street. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Which were both very worthy causes. Right. And it's just here, this is like we talked about, the stakes are so much higher with Dinah. It immediately tilts all the way into the other column of this is unconscionable. And she does even say, I mean, I was sort of being hard on her that she doesn't make much of an argument other than saying, isn't it obvious, right? Yeah. But she does, in that first conversation, articulate to them that she wants to save Dinah, right?
Yeah.
Like she says something along those lines. And then at the end with Tattletale, she really lays out to Lisa basically what you sort of predicted. But I thought it was so interesting how she is feeling about it, right? Lisa says, "This feels bad, Taylor. You really have to go?" And Taylor says, "I don't even want to look at myself in the mirror right now. Even if we came to some sort of agreement, made a plan to save her together, go against Coyle, I trailed off, trying to find the words.
Yeah, that's wild because
I can't
I
face
thought
everyone
that's what
else
she would want.
and
Yeah.
pretend like things are normal. Even if we were working to save her, it feels disrespectful. Dinah deserves better than that."
I was a little unclear what that meant. I wasn't sure if it was the fact that we weren't immediately all horrified and wanted to save her is, I can't deal with that. But I think it's actually, I can't deal with the fact that we helped with this in the first place.
Yeah.
Therefore, I can't be part of this group anymore.
Yeah, right. She's feeling hurt. She's feeling angry.
Guilty.
She's feeling shame. Yeah,
shame. Yep.
Just to your point, this is such an emotional chapter for Taylor in a way that is totally understandable.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I got to this part, it just really hammered home for me that, Taylor couldn't have immediately been like, well, all I have to do is, take another week. We got Bitch to change her mind. I'll take a couple of weeks. I'll work on Alec. I'll work on Bitch. I'll work on Gru. I'll, work on Tattletale. And I'll get them all to my side. And that's how we'll save Dinah.
Yeah, she's not able to make
right?
that sort of rational
I could see,
plan.
Right. I could see maybe there's some circumstance where Taylor could have, gone with sort of the direction that you were saying. But she says it right here. This is kind of articulating that. And she's like, but that's not enough. And to your point, it's
yeah.
It's already, she can't swallow what she has done.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she can't honestly, emotionally process it in front of these people because of the distance between them. Yeah, it's a lot. And we don't get, I love how little sense we have in this chapter of where it's all going to go. Wildbow's playing his cards really close to the chest here because, again, Tattletale asks her all the questions, what's going to happen next? And she's I don't know, don't have a plan.
And that so makes sense because she's not really reacting intellectually. She's not having a rational response. This is all emotional.
Yeah.
We've talked before about how the emotional reasons for reporting the Undersiders, turning them into the heroes, had kind of been stripped away. And on an emotional level, the activities she'd been doing with them had been so much taking down supervillains. And then Coyle offers this sort of appealing vision. None of that hit her in the sort of moral feels.
Right.
And this all of a sudden did, and it was such a hard blow. She changed everything, and she's just reeling from it. She's in shock.
And yeah, we talked about this in the last episode too, right? The Dinah situation pushes all of her buttons, right? In a way that even for someone like Alec, right, who maybe had a traumatic experience with his father, similar to what's going on with Dinah now in some ways, right? It seems like it's not pushing his buttons in the same way, right?
Yeah.
It just makes sense that Taylor is having the biggest emotional reaction here. And
That's true.
maybe one of the reasons that Lisa's the one that shows up at the end is, surprisingly for Lisa, she seemed like she was having the biggest emotional reaction other than Taylor.
Yeah.
She was the one who was least able to snap into her core programming, as Lisa says at the end, because she's having trouble looking at them. She has as much emotion in her voice as Taylor. She is, speaking in a half sigh, when Taylor is like, "You really think we can, talk through this or whatever?" And she's like, "Yeah." She's she can't even bring herself to say it, maybe.
I think probably the reason Lisa was the one who went after her at the end, you might be right about the size of her reaction, but I think also there's just an element of Lisa is the person who goes and convinces people of stuff. She's the one who talks to people.
Yeah.
I think that's a much bigger leap for any of the others to do.
Yeah.
Brian is the other one with a strong relationship with Taylor, but I think he is less... he's less chatty. They're all less chatty than Lisa.
Yeah. It just struck me that Lisa was also the person that Taylor turned to last. And I feel like she has this,
she had hope.
She has hope.
Yeah.
Right.
I do feel like the Undersiders probably feel really betrayed by Taylor in this moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know
Say
how
more
it's...
about that.
I don't know how much it's going to change things when she shows up to fight this Endbringer. But I feel like, you know, they all just saw this horrible thing and they're like, okay, we need to talk about what's going to happen next. And she's like, nope, we're not talking about it. I'm just leaving. And, you know, she's just like abandoning them for not having had exactly her moral reaction. Or, you know, they're a team and they're supposed to face this stuff together. And she just walks out. And she's the one who most recently joined. She's the one, in a way, with the loosest ties to the group. That's arguable, but at least the most recent ties. I was talking in the last episode about, like, are her relationships with the others at this point strong enough to bring them along with her? But it turns out the more relevant question was, are her relationships with the others strong enough to bring her along with them on their journey of figuring out their moral response? And they're not. Yeah.
Yeah, that passage where she leaves is devastating. She says that you guys even think it's negotiable is pretty fucked up, I replied. The anger and betrayal I was feeling made my tone harsher, harder. I don't know what I expected, but I stood there for a few seconds. Maybe I was waiting for an apology, some sort of excuse or an admission from them that I was right. None of them opened their mouths to offer any of that. I turned to leave. Like, imagine being on the other side of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, not saying that Taylor's wrong about the moral imperative here at all, but, like, there is no wiggle room. It's not like they're saying you're wrong, Taylor. What they're saying is we should talk, right? Which is cynically, that's a stalling tactic.
Yeah.
That's like, right? Like, it's sort of like, if your expectation is the teacher says, well, we all need to talk about this. And what that means is nothing's going to happen, right? But in particular, the way that Gru uses Taylor's name, he doesn't call her Skitter. He drops to, like, come on, Taylor.
He's
like,
calling on their relationship.
Right, exactly. And I feel like that bid to, can we talk about this, is genuine. It's not the, you know, authority figure condescending thing that Taylor might be responding to instinctually.
I think my view of this is shifting a little because I do think, I mean, it's very much a moral stance she's taking, but it's also she's demanding that they all share her emotional reaction and feeling betrayed that they don't.
Yeah. Also, like, kind of an asshole move, especially with Gru, for her to be like, oh, choose Dinah over your sister or you're a bad person. Right? Like, not a good argument, like, rhetorically or strategically, but it's an asshole thing to do. That's, like, such a hard, you know, like...
And that's also not at all a reasonable choice to put to him.
Yeah.
Like, of course he's going to pick his sister over Dinah in a choice, but it's not...
I feel like that's the right... Like, that's sort of morally the right answer.
It's not like either your sister or Dinah will be locked up and fed drugs.
Right.
It's like, save this girl in a horrific condition. Possibly it will make your sister's life a little bit worse, but maybe there are things we can do about that. You know, it's not a zero-sum game there.
Right. Yeah, but if you frame it as a zero-sum game, Brian is right to choose his sister, right?
I feel like it's legitimate, though, that what pushes her over the edge is Alec. Like, Alec's response was actually heinous.
Yeah.
And I don't know how genuinely it's felt.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you have to assume that when someone tells you who they are, they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And we haven't really seen enough from Alec that contradicts it to disbelieve this. Though I do have hope that there's a certain amount of defensiveness there and that he can grow.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of thing where, like, when you have someone who kind of sucks and they show a little glimmer of something, you're like, they're amazing! And you have a hero who does, like, one hypocritical thing and you're like, they're the worst person ever. Which tends to be how it works with characters and sometimes real people. But Alec's response to this... Taylor's trying to say, like, didn't you see things like this, you know, when you were living with your dad? Doesn't this kind of push those buttons? Wouldn't you be getting back into the same situation with Coyle? And Alec says, I left my father because he was trying to control me and force me to be someone and something I wasn't. It wasn't even remotely interesting or fun anymore. The day that happens with Coyle, I'll leave him too. For now, it's a good gig. I feel like that is the least defensible of the responses.
Yeah.
That is him... playing into what Coyle says he knows about him, which is like, he just wants entertainment. He wants things to be interesting and fun. Like, I don't care what happens to this girl as long as it's, you know, interesting and fun for me to be here. Like, I want to believe that's not the totality of his response.
Remember how he was sucking up to Bakida in that moment when that guy gets turned to soup. And he's like, that's pretty cool.
Right. And we were like, is that genuine? And it might be genuine.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be because I want there to be redemptive potential for all of our Undersiders.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there's not a ton to say about it. The other thing I wanted to call out, in addition to what you read, is he says, I've seen similar stuff before, but it was my dad's powers, not drugs.
Yeah.
I've got a high tolerance for that shit.
Yeah. So he doesn't have the emotional, revulsion.
Which is, right. So, of course, he doesn't have Taylor's emotional reaction because he's seen it all before.
Yeah.
But there is if you've seen this kind of thing before, like if you just accept that this is how the world is, right? Mm-hmm. It's very different. Taylor's never seen anything like this before. And wants to believe that this isn't, inevitable and it's the kind of thing that a hero can prevent. And, not really interested in defending Alec on this point, though. The only other thing I'll say is that Tattletale at the end talks about Gru falling back on his core programming. Yeah. This does feel a lot like Regent's core programming.
That is true. Yeah.
So I would be so curious, is it that he feels nothing? The fact that he didn't pick up on the fact that Dinah was being abused at all is he here feeling at all shamed by Taylor's reaction? Is he being defensive here, or is he just saying this totally matter-of-factly, unaware at the effect that it might have on Taylor?
I want it to be defensive. Yeah.
Right. It's a really interesting... Right. So, is there maybe something that, he doesn't want Taylor to be mad at him, even if he doesn't have the emotional reaction to the situation at all, right? And what would that mean?
He doesn't want Taylor to make him feel ashamed of himself, so he has to come up with a justification where he doesn't feel any of these things.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting or fun is... such
damning language.
Yeah, such a damning way to talk about participating in his father's reign of terror.
Yes. And I can't believe it's the whole story, but we'll see. I feel like we've got a long road with him.
Yeah.
Presumably. Yeah. Unless he gets destroyed by an Endbringer.
Could happen. I guess, yeah. Let's talk about some of the other Undersiders. Because it's going to be a shorter conversation, let's talk about Bitch.
Yeah, so she is someone who runs away from stuff. She doesn't have strong ties, only to her dogs. She's just like, if it bothers you, tell him to fuck off. Why do you care? She pushes things away that try to control her. Yeah. And maybe runs away from stuff isn't accurate. More like she shoves things away when they aren't, she shoves most things away. Yeah. And that's legitimate given her past. I don't think that this is a morally repugnant response. It's a little bit uncaring towards Dinah. Everyone's kind of in their own crappy situation. Dinah's in one, and it happens all the time.
I find Bitch impossible to read in this chapter.
That's fair. Yeah.
Because, I feel like I totally get why Taylor, reads it this way. But she looks at Bitch, and Bitch looks angry and annoyed. Which is, that's how she always is, right?
It's her default programming,
so,
Lisa said.
It's really hard. It's genuinely hard for me to tell what's going on with her. When Taylor says, you feel the same way, and looks at Bitch, Bitch gives her an annoyed look. Then Taylor thinks, I wasn't expecting an ally there. Yeah. But
it's more Taylor's expectations.
An annoyed look is actually not parsable as pro or anti-Taylor in this moment. If anything, my guess would be Bitch sees the whole Coil thing as very transactional and really just had to get talked into it, but is not invested in it at all, except to the extent that her teammates are on board, and is probably annoyed that Taylor changed her mind, right? If anything, it's you didn't expect Coil to be, an asshole like this? That's on you, right?
Or she's annoyed that, of course I don't want to be with Coil. It seems like he sucks worse than we thought. Of course I'm out,
Yeah, right. Or just that. It's sort of I wasn't expecting an ally there. Yeah. I would find that annoying if I was Bitch. Yes. Right? Don't expect me to have the same emotional reaction, but let me say whether or not I agree with you before you judge me.
But I do like the reading where she's like, why are you surprised by this? Of course he sucks. This is why I didn't want to go with him. Why are you surprised now?
I will say, though, the one thing you could read as hostile to Taylor is that after she throws up her curtain of bugs against Gru, the dogs start growling.
That's true.
And I'm wondering, was Bitch ready to fight Taylor at the end?
Well, they start growing, right?
Yes. I think they were a little bit grown on the way into the base.
Okay.
I don't know if this means they were grown more.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that she's responding to a Taylor versus Gru fight, and she could be defending Taylor.
I mean, no. I think she's like, oh, there might be a fight.
Yeah.
Better arm up.
Yeah. The better thing is that, like, oh, I guess Gru's the boss, and I gotta.
Well, if it seems like Taylor's attacking the rest of them, she's not gonna like not grow her dogs.
And by that point, she probably is feeling some of the betrayal, like you were talking about.
Right, Taylor just stormed off. Gru went after her, and Taylor attacked him. I mean, not exactly attacked, but yeah. No,
you're absolutely right. I can't even pretend that Bitch might be doing this to defend Taylor, because what we know about Bitch is that she's good at reading body language, and she can absolutely tell that Taylor is considering attacking. Like, she can tell that hostile, I might have to fight you body language. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, she's absolutely getting ready to fight Taylor at the end there. But before Taylor storms off, I don't know that Bitch deserves to be brushed away the way Taylor does. No. Not that I think Bitch cares in the same way.
Like she's prejudging her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Gru.
Yeah.
Gru says,
we are not to blame.
I'm being practical.
I'm being practical.
So this is what he says. This is sort of the clearest moral stance we've gotten from him.
Yeah.
People are suffering all around the world. We ignore what's happening elsewhere every second of every day, focusing only on our country, our city, our neighborhood, or on the people we see daily. We only really care about the pain and unhappiness of our loved ones, our friends and families, because we couldn't stay sane if we tried to support and save everyone. Nobody could try to do anything like that except maybe Scion. I'm applying that concept to a smaller scale. My family and my team, they take priority, and they take priority in that order. If I have to choose one way or the other, I'm going to take the option that includes Aisha and you guys.
I started cringing in the middle of that because I was thinking about Panacea.
I was thinking about Panacea too. I mean, this is directly Panacea's problem, right? Yeah. That she's trying to save everyone and she can't, and she is barely holding on to mental health in any way. And Brian says it himself, I'm applying that concept to a smaller scale. He's thinking too small, basically. Mm-hmm. I think there are ways in which he's right, like you cannot care about everyone, and I don't think Taylor is arguing with that.
Oh, yeah.
She says this is different from ignoring starving kids in a third world country or ignoring some homeless guy on the street. You've seen Dinah in person, you've looked her in the eye. I feel like there's some quibbles to be had with her saying, like, the homeless guy is different from that. But you're already involved, you've played a role in her situation.
Yeah.
Which is certainly true. Like, they are partially to blame for this, even if he says they're not. And I think Brian, having made his choice to make these moral compromises for the sake of his family, has limited himself in terms of what good he is able to do to the world, and is, as he says, looking at it on a smaller scale. Like, he's looking at it too narrowly.
Yeah, the way that I interpret it is they're both right in talking past each other. Like, Taylor's right about the Dinah situation, but Brian's right about how people relate to the world. And and like, he's right about the Panacea thing, right? Like, it's only natural that you care more for people close to you. Like, this is sort of the not to get totally sidelined, but like, Taylor might be someone who's very persuaded by the idea of effective altruism. The idea that, like, well, you should maximize your income and then give most of it away to maximally, measurably effective charities, because you're sort of making this, like, utilitarian calculus. And I think Brian has a much more, like, naturally human morality of, like, it just makes sense. You're going to care more about people who are close to you.
Taylor wouldn't, though, because she chose friendship. Remember? When she was like, should I be a supervillain? Yes, for the sake of friendship. I think she just thinks that you can have friendship and do good for the world and stop some of the terrible wrongs that are happening in front of you. Yeah. And Brian seems to have cut himself off from those ideas. I do think we saw him start to consider whether, in fact, he could be better than that in the conversations with Taylor in this arc. But I think maybe what Lisa is saying is, like, he's falling back on his core programming, which is very narrow-minded is not the right term, because it's not really about very low standards for himself, I guess.
Yeah.
He can do better, I think.
That's interesting. Maybe I agree with that, the sort of he can do better approach. I feel like that first thing that he says, we are not to blame. I
that
agree.
maybe is the mistake.
that they wouldn't have seen it coming.
Yeah.
But my guess is that Gru's emotional reaction here is he knows it's true. If they're to blame, they have to do something about it. But he doesn't want to do something about it.
So he wants them not to be to blame.
So he feels that like they must not. It cannot be the fact that we are to blame.
Yeah.
And he's figuring out how to justify that to himself.
Yeah.
And maybe part of him, that's where the sort of like, let's talk about what we do about it comes from. He's feeling some of that squickiness or whatever. But
yeah, he has complex reactions, and Taylor's has a very simple and extreme one.
Exactly. But I feel like he's saying, okay, if I'm not to blame, I don't have to do something about this. I'm not to blame. I couldn't have known, like, and then Taylor's like, yeah, but like, you would obviously pick this rando over your sister. And he's like, whoa.
To be clear, she doesn't say that. She says, are you really willing to let Dinah stay in captivity just for Aisha? Which is close to what you're saying, but it's not really a one-for-one choice. I just think it's a dick
move to throw that in his face. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it is. It's very callous towards his relationship with his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, is she really saying that, like, she would sacrifice Danny for, like, I don't think she's saying that.
The other thing I would say sort of in defense of Brian, right? Like, I mentioned the thing he calls her by name, right? That to me, he's still having that conversation with her that they've been having this whole arc about helping innocence and stuff. And I think, Taylor said, like I thought you were honorable or something. He's kind of saying, like, I don't think I'm that good of a person. And so that fits in line with the low standards thing. But I do think he might be willing to admit that he has low standards, but I think he wants to make his case for himself. And this is him trying to respond. Yeah. Speak his truth a little bit more about why there have to be limits.
I think he's right that, like, you have to make some sort of compromise, and I think he's just made slightly too selfish a compromise, and he can do better.
Yeah, but he's not just like, I only care about my sister. He also says, and I care about my team.
Yeah.
Which I feel like was...
And then Taylor abandons them.
Right. Which was weirdly, like, I was like, I feel like that is kind of an olive branch. Like, he's like, I don't just care about me and my own. Like, I care about you guys. Right? Like, he's trying... Again, it's not broad enough. He's not willing to...
And this does change. He's, like, saying, I'm definitely less sure I want to work with Coyle now, which does potentially compromise the thing with his sister. I mean, I think what I didn't anticipate about this chapter is that Taylor would have such an extreme emotional reaction to this that she wouldn't be able to lay out, like, no, here's what we do. Like, here's how we have to approach this. We have to pretend to work with Coyle. Like, none of that sort of subterfuge, scheming, like, none of that was accessible to her in this moment. She was just having this intense reaction.
Which I love. I think it's so well written for that reason. I feel like she's come so far this arc, right? Where she's all in on friendship. And then, the hits have just kind of kept coming. Like, it's mostly like the stuff with Brian. And then this is just like such a huge emotional beat. But I feel like the big emotional beats have been like waves, and like this one was building right behind the other one. So we get the like, yes, I'm going to join the Undersiders and embrace friendship. And we were kind of like, but aren't you a hero deep down? And then like suddenly here she is, and she's like feeling all of those other feelings again and being like, oh my god, my friends have been laid bare as these awful supervillains and what a crisis for me.
Yeah. And she's a little bit black and white in her thinking.
Yeah.
It feels like, I like the wave analogy. It feels like Dinah's kidnapping was like an earthquake offshore, and they couldn't really feel it. Maybe they got like a little bit of the tremors, but then the tsunami came.
Yeah. And it's bleak, this chapter, in a way.
Yeah.
It's just seeing...
Well, she loses everything.
Yeah. And, like, this reminder that we have been saying this almost as a truism. Well, Taylor's a hero, right? And this is a reminder her friends aren't heroes. And on a reread, part of me is like, well, heroes are rare. Like, true heroes are rare. This is part of why we're so invested in Taylor.
Yeah. Right? That's a great point.
So it's a beautiful illustration of that by letting the emotional chips fall and, knock over the board rather than just having them immediately go into, like, scheming
Right.
mob.
They're not suddenly heroes also.
Right. It's not focused on, like plot machinations. It's just like this stuff has been building up and we hit this breaking point and suddenly everything, all the balls are ping-ponging off of each other and we'll see where the pieces land.
I was just thinking like, in a way, like Wildbow is the Endbringer in this chapter. And then I was like, wait, I don't think it's that kind of book, but it would be very funny in a different kind of narrative for the Endbringer to be the author coming in with the pen being like, I'm going to kill some people. And they're like, how do we fight the author outside of the book?
Yes, that would be like a genre change.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very like Phantom Tollbooth.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's where the Endbringer is going. So let's talk about Tattletale.
Yeah.
I feel like she tells on herself a little at the beginning of the chapter where she's like, no, I knew she was being kidnapped. I knew Coil was behind that. Ooh. I just didn't think it would be this ugly, is how she says it.
She invents the concept of a serious kidnapping to be like, this wasn't a serious kidnapping. Like, excuse
right, she says something
Lisa.
about like maybe she's unhappy at home and like Coil can bribe her or something, and she says that like this isn't like him. This is like ruthless and power hungry in a way that he isn't usually. And
she's like, have you heard the guy?
But he's so courteous about it.
Yeah.
She also says that Coil has worked with her enough to know what kind of things she won't know. So he knew that she wouldn't really suspect how bad the situation with Dinah was.
Yeah.
She also says that Coil showed Dinah to us on purpose as a test. I don't actually think is true.
Interesting. Yeah, her argument is kind of like Coil wants to see if we'll come down that slippery slope.
Which is not an argument for going down it. But she says at the end, she refuses to say goodbye, as you said. She said, I'll resolve this situation with Coil and his captive myself if I have to, if it means we can have another civil conversation in the near future. That is a wild thing to say.
Yeah.
Like, that says a lot about her priorities that I don't know that we knew.
Yeah. What's going on with that?
She values friendship, I guess. She values the team. Like, she values Taylor. And she also maybe sees herself as someone who can, like, fix situations.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's like, she feels a lot of responsibility for the relationship with the boss. She's the one who's been talking to him for this whole time. She's kind of known the deal with him for way longer. And, while the others have been blind to it.
Is her core programming that I can talk through this? Like,
probably. Yeah, I'll resolve the situations. Like, I'll just talk to him. Well, yeah. But I do think she sees this rift on the team as her fault a little bit. Like, because she's the one who is responsible for Coil's role in their lives to some extent.
Yeah, and she didn't see this reveal coming. It's sort of like the way she articulates it is like, Coil knew that this would be a blind spot for me.
Yeah.
And knew that I wouldn't be prepared. And
yeah, but I don't think Coil expected them to have this reaction because he didn't respond to the odds change in a way that implied that he thought.
Right.
Yeah. Though, okay, looking back at the odds, I may have been wrong.
Say more.
Because the Travelers' odds went down as well, and the Travelers aren't here having this conversation. So actually, probably the reason that the odds went down is that the Endbringer is showing up.
Interesting.
Which I'm actually really disappointed by because I thought it was such a cool plot thing if the odds went down because he showed them Dinah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't even consider it. Well, maybe he doesn't consider it because
you would have to work a little bit harder, I think, to make Taylor responsible for the odds going down in the case of the Travelers.
Yes.
I think that's a good observation.
There's no reason for her to interact with them tonight.
Yeah. Unless it's sort of the urgency of what she would do is going to play out in the next day or so.
Maybe, but it was really kind of if they go fight them tonight. But the Endbringer is coming tonight, so I think that's what changed things.
Yeah, I think that's a good read. I mean, I don't want to say too much more about the Endbringer connecting to the odds, except that's a good observation until we know a little bit more. So
we'll see.
We can circle back to how Endbringers work, if we ever learn how they work.
Probably never.
But before we do Endbringer stuff, I want to talk more about Tattletale. One thing I thought that was really interesting, she has this bid to Taylor Like, she's showing up, she's hearing her out, she's looking for Taylor to give her an opening. Mm-hmm. Taylor shuts her down a lot. Mm-hmm. And she draws this line of, like, I'm not saying goodbye. Which reminded me a lot of, like, their kind of negotiation when they went shopping. Mm-hmm. When Lisa's like, I think we should help you with your bullies. You know, in so many words. And Taylor's like, no, this is a line. Do not do that or I'm gone. And Lisa kind of accepts it. And I feel like this is, again, they're having a conversation where it's like, we're going to really talk about where are the lines that can be, like, crossed or not. Yeah. And Lisa's basically saying, like, I'm drawing a line here. Don't cross it and say never. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, this is the boundary that I want to set, is that this is not the last time we're going to talk. And then the Endbringer shows up. And right at the end, when she's talking about, we all decided we would go, she slips in, you're pretty much not on the team right now. Which to me says a lot about how the Undersiders reacted after Taylor stormed off. To me, the subtext here is that they were basically like, well, fuck her, she's off the team. She quit. And Lisa is...
Is the other one who's like, no.
Right. I don't know if she's doing this... Like, we kind of said maybe she's doing this on behalf of the team. She's the talker. She might be extending an olive branch more for her own sake.
I think the team is probably just reeling.
Yeah, but the subtext here is clearly that, like, the other people are not as open to Taylor right now as Lisa is. And I think that she wouldn't have said this, except suddenly she's like, oh, if we go to where we need to go right now, Taylor needs to know that she's not on the team, right? I didn't want to tell her, like...
I feel like she would have had to be clearer about it if that was her point. Like, I mean, mostly what she was saying, it's like not your obligation to come with us.
Maybe.
I feel like you've read more
maybe
about that, but I feel like,
reading too much
that's a heavy read.
I feel like this is her realizing a little bit like, oh, I should be a little bit more honest in this moment. But I am so interested in this moment. Lisa shows up, starts talking to Taylor. Where are you going to go? I turned to look at her and her expression changed. Was it the look on my face? I wasn't sure what emotion I was conveying. Anger? Disappointment? Regret? A motel, maybe, I said. Why? Are you going to have to hunt me down? Tie up a loose end? You know we wouldn't. Sure. I suppose he'll send the travelers after me if he goes that route.
Harsh.
What do you think is this her expression changed beat? And, like, what does she see in Taylor in this moment? Because it's completely open.
No, it's true.
And I love that. And I just am curious what your reaction is.
I don't know, because it's possible she was really seeing something in Taylor's face where, like, she thought maybe, oh, I can talk to her. Or, like, whoa, that expression, like, ooh, maybe this isn't going to go too well. It's also possible that her power was telling her things.
Yeah.
Which she said she doesn't usually get a lot about, like, what people are thinking and feeling. She can if she tries really hard.
Yeah.
This might be a circumstance in which she's motivated to try really hard. She asks a lot of questions. That doesn't mean she's not getting anything from her power. That might mean she's trying to supplement it. She's trying to give her power more to work with.
Yeah. I feel like there are some really compelling options for me thinking about it.
Yeah.
One is, like, the undertones of, like, are you here to kill me? I won't go easy. Right? Like, this kind of, like, totally hostile.
Yeah.
Looking at her like she's an enemy kind of thing that she never would have had reason to see on Taylor before. And just feeling like, oh, she's on the other side. Though, actually, after this, Taylor pulls her mask off after this. So it must be, like, in her body language or something.
So she was still wearing her mask. Maybe that's what was shocking.
Yeah, just, like, seeing her as Skitter.
She's still Skitter. Yeah. She's not Taylor with Lisa right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I guess then the idea of, like, reading something into her face doesn't work. That's too bad.
Yeah.
I was wondering if what Taylor was conveying was desperation. Taylor has been reflecting to herself how she's back to square one. And if we take her back to that arc one mindset, right, that she talks about here, just being so desperate, right? So, like, packing things up hurriedly, just, like, panicking, just trying to get to the next moment, just trying to survive, like, barely in control. The sort of, like, Lisa's like, oh yeah, I thought maybe, like, you were being abused at home or something, right? Like, maybe she's seeing something in Taylor like that. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I don't know, like you're saying, Lisa's not the body language expert, so maybe it is just kind of there's Skitter and she is targeting me.
Yeah, well, Lisa doesn't have powers.
Yeah.
I mean, she does have powers. She doesn't have combat powers.
Yeah. Oh.
What?
What if her power says, if Skitter attacks you now, you won't make it?
Her power doesn't predict things like that.
Yeah.
As far as we know. I'm remembering, and I haven't thought about this for a long time, I'm remembering that when we recorded episode 0 and I asked you who your favorite character was, you said, it's hard to pick anyone other than Tattletale. I'm so curious, because I feel like with what we've seen of her so far, I mean, she's fun, but like, Taylor's a much more compelling character than Tattletale right now. What are we going to learn about Tattletale, or what are we going to see from Tattletale that will, we still don't know her trigger event, we don't know her damage, basically. And
that's true.
I want to know.
That's true.
It's sort of a side thought.
I mean, yeah, favorite character is an interesting question. Because it's not best or deepest character.
No, maybe just the most fun. I mean, she is very fun.
But I can't, we haven't gotten nearly far enough for me to say anything more.
True.
I feel like I already said too much. Gotta go back in time and edit that out of episode 0.
Interesting.
To say, oh, well, the only character you know about is Taylor, so Taylor, I guess. And as we meet people, I can be like, oh, this is my favorite character. Dinah's my favorite character now.
Oh my god.
The latest character
Poor
we've
Dinah.
met.
I guess we haven't met the Endbringer. Before we get to the Endbringer, I just want to observe how much purpose acts as a temptation for Taylor in this narrative.
Ooh.
Like, that's really what drives her to the Cape scene in the first place. That's what drives her to the Undersiders for her insinuation plot. And now she's lost her purpose sort of from this emotional shock. And like you said, when the Endbringer thing comes up at the end, it's so easy for her to jump on that. And we've talked about how, like, if she were to quit the Undersiders, like, what, is she going to hang up her costume? Like, no, she needs that. She needs the purpose.
Yeah.
And so there are a few strong threads that are pulling Taylor in different directions, really, in this story. There are relationships. She really needs that.
Yeah.
Like, that was such a driver for her in, like, Arc 2, those early arcs. And, I mean, just recently when she chose the Undersiders, there's morality, which she still really cares about and, like, really in effect in these couple chapters. There's purpose. And she does need a purpose that fulfills her values.
Yeah.
But the idea of somewhere to go, like she says, she's had a purpose since the beginning of high school. It's been sort of getting through the day, going to school, and then it evolved into using her powers, learning how they work, becoming a superhero. And it's just amazing kind of seeing that called out. Yeah.
And that is really what she's thinking about. I mean, I see the, like, before her powers, getting through the day like that isn't so much a purpose. I feel like it's more
describe it that way. A
purpose,
game plan. Yeah.
The purpose that her powers created for her felt like a lifeline, like the way that she describes it. But I mean, I see what you're saying. And
I mean, that's a big thing they talk about with, like, the opioid epidemic in the US. Like, there's so many mental health problems in our country, in our society. And one of the things that comes up on that topic is, like, people need to feel like their lives have meaning. Like, if you're just working a job that you don't feel fulfilled by, no matter what the day-to-day is like, having that greater context of, like, no, I'm working towards something good. Like, that is something that you need in order to feel happy.
Yeah, I mean, people
relationships
talk about
and purpose,
having something to live for. There's a lot,
parts of it.
There's a lot of truth behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this moment of reflection is such a, like, with Taylor thinking she's back to square one, it really does feel like we're coming to the close of a major arc in the story, right? Like, we get this summary and recap, and it's like I was saying before, she's come so far, but she feels like she's back to square one, and, we could be going anywhere in the future, though I guess in the immediate future, we know we're going to this battle. A couple of Taylor things before we get to Endbringer predictions, though. There's these really sad moments when she's leaving. She thinks, well, I didn't say anything as I stormed off because I didn't want the last thing I said to Brian to be me, like, cussing him out. And then when she's packing up her bag, she grabs the amber.
Yeah.
Like,
she still
despite
that.
despite how much moral revulsion she has, it's not like she's suddenly at zero on Brian and the others,
definitely.
right? And of course, why would she be? Because if she believed in her heart that they were supervillains all along, she wouldn't be surprised by this reaction, right? Like, it's kind of it's the conflict between how she sees them and what
how
they're
how they're acting. Yeah.
And so, it's so sad.
It's so sad that something happened so soon to push it to this point.
Yeah. The other really sad moment with Gru is when she loses her temper and puts up her bugs, and then she starts being herself and thinking, okay, well, I know about the weakness in his mask. I can send bugs in there. Like, I have been preparing to fight these guys. Like, okay, well, if bitch uses the dogs, I'm probably going to lose. But like the fact that she is so upset in this moment that she starts turning on her, like, well, how do I take these guys down thing? It's just really upsetting to read about, right? Like, I don't want to see Skitter versus Gru going as hard as Skitter does, right? It would be so different from her beating Rachel up in Arc 2.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
The one thing that doesn't come up purpose-wise, in this moment, she's not really thinking about how much she liked Coil's plan. She hasn't really faced that directly yet, either at the end of last arc or kind of through this arc.
Do you mean like, oh man, I guess we won't get that plan? Or like, oh no, how could I ever have liked that plan?
I guess in the sense of like when she was put on the spot in the limo and she was like, we'll fix the city and I'll be okay with that. We've sort of been like, she had to say something in the moment and that was the closest that she could come to the truth. But we've sort of said like, yeah, we think Taylor actually might be okay with Coil, if not for Dinah, right? And so I'm wondering, this is totally not mentioned here, but how much of Taylor's reaction is, I can't believe I almost got on board with this, right? Like, thank God.
I think that is
I know now, right?
Yeah.
But she's not grappling with the part of herself that found Coil appealing.
Yeah.
Which is a really interesting piece of this purpose conversation that I hope she comes back to in the future.
I mean, she said multiple times that, like, to Coil, like, I'm not sure that I trust you. And that's the beginning
She said much after, I like your plan, but I don't like you.
No, so exactly. Like, that's really the problem. Like, I'm sure she still likes the plan. Like, it'd be great for the city to be revitalized. But she needs to trust him not to commit horrible atrocities while he does so, like, in the course of doing so. And unfortunately, now she knows she can't trust him to do that. Yeah. So I feel like there probably is some disgust with herself for like, man, I can't believe I was tempted by this. But, like, she did have the reasonable reservation of, like, but if I can't trust him, it's not a good plan. And in fact, that was the case.
That's true. Yeah. She's been giving herself the out. Yeah.
Should we talk about the Endbringer?
Yeah. I mean, I think you should.
What is it? It's what probably does it mean, not Jenny? The author breaking the fourth wall.
Air raid sirens, evacuations. They talked about it and decided they'd go.
Yeah.
What is going on?
I mean, it's wild because, like, they have supervillains in this town. They have such powerful supervillains. I mean, they have Loong, the dragon. They have Empire 88. They have, like, Purity and Kaiser and, like, these really, really terrible people who are doing awful things all the time. And even just recently, Purity was trying to destroy the docks. So, like, the idea of it just being a more powerful villain doesn't feel like it's quite scaled up enough.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question. I mean, we don't know that it's a cape or that the Endbringers are capes. We heard them discussed as a group, I think. The Endbringers. And this is potentially an Endbringer. That's what Tattletale says. I think she just says it singularly. So if it's a group, is it a group that's united by purpose? By power? By nature? Are they human capes? Or like, parahumans? Or are they like aliens breaking in from another reality, kind of like kaiju style?
Yeah.
That feels like something that capes could fight, though, without this level of horror. So I feel like there has to be some real like existential horror. I suspect Wildbow's going to do much better at coming up with existential horror than I possibly could in my prediction, just given what I know of his creativity and the way that my mind works.
I just love that we get so much about what it means and nothing about what it is.
Nothing about what it is.
It's beautifully done.
But I kind of like the idea that it's like the Endbringers are like erasers. If they touch something, it's not just that it ceases to exist, it's that like it never existed.
Yeah.
So you can't even remember what they've done,
which
would be really haunting. Just like, what was in the world that they got rid of?
Yeah.
You have no idea. So that would be really harrowing.
I mean, it's also an interesting, just connecting back to that, like, of course Taylor's going to say yes. Mm-hmm. Right. If the stakes are that big, what a thing to say yes to. And this is kind of, I'm not sure I quite articulated it before, but Taylor's moral response to Dinah, especially in contrast to Brian, and especially the way that she reacts to Lisa showing up and says, what, you're here to take me out? No, I guess I'll send the travelers after me. There's a degree to which Taylor is willing to throw herself away, give everything up in order to serve a higher purpose.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, emotionally, Brian is like, I can't be that selfish.
He has a kid, basically.
Right.
It's his sister.
I have to think about someone else before I think about myself.
Yeah.
And Taylor's just like, nothing matters more than doing what's right.
Yeah.
And that's, like you're saying, like, of course she's going to say yes to this. But it's like, whatever this horrifying thing is, Lisa's like basically saying, like, I mean, of course, like, don't say yes to that. No one should say yes to that. I mean, I am for my own reasons, and we are for our own reasons.
It is wild that the Undersiders decided they would fight this thing.
Yeah.
And not just flee. Like, Alec decided that.
Yeah.
I now believe that it's someone who touches things and erases them from reality and from ever having existed. So, I don't want Taylor to fight that.
Yeah.
What if the Endbringer is something that touches something and moves it instantly through time to, like, the end of the universe?
Ooh, bringing like you to the end.
Yeah, well, more like touches you and you instantly go through your whole lifespan and crumble into dust.
Yeah. Just putting it another way, it's like, the question is, are you ready to die?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
and at this moment, Taylor's got nothing to live for. Like, that's not quite true. But she doesn't know where to go. She doesn't have anything to do. So this is actually an easier moment.
Yeah.
I do think she would agree to fight this thing no matter what. But I did have a mid-chapter prediction that no longer feels as likely. But when Taylor first stormed off, I was like, I feel like she's going to have to go join, like, another group.
Ooh.
Because she's going to need help if she's going to rescue Dinah.
Of course.
Then after the conversation with Tattletale, I was like, she doesn't really know where maybe she's lying, but the thing where she's like, I can't even face myself in the mirror. I'm like, ooh, it'd be really hard to go confess this to someone else. But my thought was like, all right, she's kind of burned some bridges with the Protectorate. I guess she could go to Miss Militia. We've kind of already thought about that enough times that I feel like it can't happen now. I was like, maybe Fault Line's crew, but really only work for money. Taylor does have money, so she could hire them. It was like either Fault Line's crew or New Wave she's going to go to. It's like we did see a lot of Glory Girl and Panacea, and they haven't come into it really for a while, and want to get them back. Like, clearly we built them up so they could serve a purpose in the narrative.
Yeah. I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
I have a couple of little notes. You were mentioning Taylor storming off, and I wanted to connect it back. We talked about Arc 2 a bunch. This is the second time Taylor has quit the Undersiders and left the loft and then been brought back in immediately. Because in Arc 2, she's like, what's going on? She attacked me for no reason. This sucks. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And Brian comes to her. And in this chapter, Brian can't pull her back. But the stakes of the Endbringer do get her back in that loft talking to Lisa.
I feel almost like it's handing her an easy out. It's like she doesn't have to, I mean, it's not easy, obviously. She has to face an Endbringer, whatever that is. But she doesn't have to cope with, like, I have nowhere to go and nothing to do and I've just abandoned my friends. Oh, I guess I get to rejoin my friends and do something with, like, really clear moral purpose that's, like, obviously the path to go on.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, I mean, I wouldn't call it a Deus Ex Machina because clearly it's not a god, but, well, maybe it is.
But it is a Deus Ex Machina in the sense of the authorship behind it, which we sort of have joked about. But, like, this is very much like what the story is getting now is this escalation and this pivot, and it's not like we're going to have the procedural about Taylor processing this, or like a time skip
right, it's kind of just everything's being swept off the table by this enormous threat.
And we can't, like, we'll see how and why that's happening, right? But it is sort of...
I mean, it's definitely not performing a Deus Ex Machina role in the narrative where it doesn't just come in and fix everything, but it is an excellent sort of crisis ex machina.
Yes. Yeah. It keeps coming. I mean, we'll be able to talk about it more in retrospect. The last little detail I wanted to call out is poor Angelica.
They don't stop coming.
In this arc where Taylor throws herself in with the Undersiders only to find that they are really different from her in some really important ways. We have poor Angelica, who is hurt in a way that can't be fixed, or at least easily fixed, by Bitch's super healing powers. And just, like, being there as an example of, like, consequences of choices and kind of, like, some hurts can't be healed.
Oof.
And it makes me really sad to think about, like, how much Taylor burned a bridge at the end of Arc 6, only to find herself here so soon afterwards. And just kind of like...
But she didn't burn the bridge. We were very sure about that.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Well, and, Lisa, like Danny, is just like, hey, we just need to talk. Let's talk.
That's true. This is the second arc in a row that she's stormed out, and the other person has been like, no, you can come back whenever you want.
Yeah.
And now she's lost her second home. Got no homes to lose anymore, Taylor.
Well, that's an ominous thing to say.
I guess there's still the city and the earth.
Let's
see what this Endbringer does.
I mean, I don't even know, like, do you have other predictions? Should we just get to it?
I feel like predicting what the Endbringer will do, like having discussed that, is enough. Do you want to read me the first sentence of the next chapter?
Yeah. This is an interlude.
Oh, right! Of course it is.
So we're not getting a new arc name.
So
we're not hearing more from Taylor. We're getting an interlude.
Does that mean we're not going to the Endbringer? You can't tell me. All right. Well, I want this to be fighting the Endbringer because I really want to find out what the Endbringer is. What are some other good options? Circus would be really fun.
Yeah.
See Circus's romance with the, Herman Snipes.
Yeah.
Still haven't seen much from the Travelers, and they would be really fun to see. Would love to see a new hero come into town.
Yeah.
If it is fighting the Endbringer, I wonder if it's time for an interlude from an Undersider perspective.
I was actually going to ask you. I'm not going to promise you that we're going to get interludes from all their perspectives, but I'm wondering, like, whose head do you think we're going to get into sooner or later? I guess what I'll say is there's at least one Undersider interlude coming in the future. I won't confirm how many.
Yeah.
But
I doubt we'll get Rachel soon because we got the dog interlude, which was sort of a Rachel interlude.
Kind of a Rachel interlude, yeah.
I don't think we'll get Tattletale soon because I don't think it's time to divulge her secrets.
Fair, yeah.
I think Gru would make sense at this point just because... I guess Gru is someone we've seen enough from that I don't feel like it would reveal too much for us to now be in his head. But maybe that's a reason why we wouldn't need it. Alec, I think, would be really interesting because we haven't seen enough about his interiority.
Yeah.
So I think he would probably be my choice. Yeah.
Very exciting. The first sentence of Interlude 7. Walk, the soldier barked in Turkish.
Oh, good heavens. What do I do with that? So, soldiers immediately suggest coil to me if we're dealing with the capes in this town. But why would they be speaking Turkish? So maybe we're not. It's interesting that the narration notes that it's Turkish. That makes me wonder if, is all of it in Turkish? Or is it just, is it notable to the narrator that this is in Turkish? Or is it just, the narration wants to make sure we know they're not speaking English? I don't know. Would they be in Turkey? That feels like a large leap from where we've been so far. I guess we did travel to British Columbia, so it's not like we've only been in Brockton Bay. Yeah, are we gonna see, some sort of, Cape prison halfway around the world? Or I don't know, this just feels so random.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a new Cape name in this chapter.
Okay.
Weld.
Weld. W-E-L-D?
Yes.
Okay. Not W-E-L-L-E-D. Really weird name. Weld. Well, I want to believe that's someone who can join any two things together.
Yeah.
Any materials.
That's solid.
Yeah. Make them solid. Exactly.
Yeah. I like that a lot.
Sort of the opposite of fault line.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Good connection. So, off mic, I know we need to wrap up, but I do just want to ask this one thing. Before we go, end of Arc 7, how are you feeling?
I want to know what this story is about. I feel like it's coming close. We have a lot of
guess just checking in with because I feel like you had this hope. You're yes, now I see how it's coming together. And this chapter kind of
spoiled
really
some scattered of that. A lot of those pieces. And
I would want to check in with you emotionally after this emotional chapter. It doesn't seem like it hit the same way that the principal's office hit or some of the other.
Oh gosh, no.
Right.
No. Definitely didn't push those buttons for me. I mean, I assume that this rift is not going to last very long. I feel like the fight against the Endbringer is going to function the way that, like, I feel like fights often functioned in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where it's like, oh no, all these emotional problems. Oh, we have something to beat up. Okay, we're all just going to kick a bunch of butt. Okay, our emotional problems are fine now. Like,
yeah.
I think that them fighting together and being in really deadly peril and having those extreme experiences, that intensity of experiences is going to lessen some of the emotional immediacy of the scene they just had. And I think maybe they'll better be able to have a discussion afterwards of like, okay, what do we actually want to do? Taylor, do you want to be part of this group?
Yeah. Yeah, so sort of, time passes and also being able to...
It gets a little overwritten by the extremity of their...
Yeah. And I guess, the maybe the thing to keep an eye on, I don't know if you have any predictions on it now, is like, okay, if you're seeing a reconciliation, like, but what would actually have to change, right? Like, beyond the passage of time to get her to that point where she can tolerate it on a minute-to-minute basis.
I mean, I feel like just letting the initial impact of that moment fade is going to go a long way, but also seeing her teammates risk their lives goes a long way towards lessening her concern about what kind of people they are. Like, if they're willing to sacrifice themselves potentially to stop whatever this Endbringer is going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why they decided they would fight the Endbringer, but like seeing them do that could help.
And that's sort of like, it wouldn't be, oh, well, Taylor's judging us, and so we have to say we'll go fight the Endbringer. It's like, we already decided.
No, they already decided.
This
exactly.
is something.
Yeah, I also think, like we were saying, if they could all have had a conversation that was a little bit less emotionally charged, they might have come around to what Taylor thinks they should do. And that piece where she couldn't look at herself out of shame might also be lessened if she risks her life facing this awful evil. Like, I feel like it will help in a number of ways. But I wouldn't be surprised if, especially Alec and Rachel, are still like, well, no, she left us. Like, what?
Yeah.
Alec would be like, whatever.
Yeah.
She probably undid some progress with Rachel. I think it's not going to be that easy. Maybe even Gru. I mean, she did kind of say his sister shouldn't matter, and then she threw bugs at him, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jenny, it's going to be so good. We just have to keep reading.
Well, I think we will. That's my prediction.
All right. Well, we better stop podcasting so we can get closer to that.
Yeah, next time.
On Inchworm. Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae. You can read Worm at parahumans.wordpress.com and support the author at patreon.com/wildbow. Follow us on Tumblr and Blue Sky at Inchworm Podcast, or find our Discord link and any other updates on inchwormpodcast.com.